Hey guys, welcome to this week's Meet the Collection. This is going to be one of those update episodes, and it's a girl that I did earlier on, and I don't remember what number, but when I edit this, I will put the number in. But this would be Voodoo Queen, one of my absolutely wonderful Sumatran short-tail pythons that I'm very excited to share with you, so stay tuned. So in stark contrast from last week's video, which had my male olive python showing all kinds of cool behaviors, we're gonna have Voodoo Queen here, who's probably just gonna sit there throughout this video. She shed not too long ago. She is just a fantastic female Sumatran short-tailed python. She was produced here, as I discussed in her earlier video. Her mother is Incognito and her father is Tux. I believe you can see them both in episode 39, or not episode 39, but Meet the Collection 39. You might have to double check me on that. I know Incognito's Meet the Collection was number 10, and she's in a few other videos. So one of the things that I like about these guys is the very, very deep orange eyes with the black contrast. Now, one of the interesting things about these Sumatran shorttails, especially these extremely dark examples, is she didn't hatch out with orange eyes. She hatched out with silver eyes. And so I'll have people on occasion come to me looking for Sumatran shorttail pythons and back out because they want one with orange eyes, but they see these babies with silver eyes. And honestly, I don't even bother to correct them. So it's their loss. I don't have a problem selling these, so I'm not trying to sit there and debate with anybody, but oftentimes the ones that are born with the silver eyes from this line turn the darkest. Now, Voodoo Queen here is not the darkest. She's very dark, but Morticia, her sister, is actually considerably darker. Morticia just really doesn't like to be outside, which at some point we're going to do a video and we're going to bring Morticia out here and we're going to experiment a little bit and try to figure out what it is about outside that bothers Morticia so much, whether it's being on the ground and feeling exposed, or whether it's the texture, or whether it's something else. So we're going to bring her out into a couple of scenarios, and I'll cut up a video. I'll probably do it on 3 separate days or something so that she's not getting constantly bombarded, you know, all in the same day. Give you a couple angles here. You can see Voodoo Queen's got a little more brown on her than I would like. It's very, very hard to see, but it is there. I don't mind the white highlights, so I actually like that white down there quite a bit. Morticia has less brown than she does, and don't get me wrong, she's a stellar example of this species, and there's very little brown here, and she'll still probably darken a little bit, but not too much more. I mean, you can see she's pretty dark, but you can see that contrasting, that little bit of brown in there when you really look in the right light. Right now is actually the good light to show it off, where you can see that brown poke through. But yeah, we will experiment with Morticia and see how that goes, and see if we can figure it out. So what I plan to do is like bring out some paper and put a flat surface down and then put some paper on top of it and see how she reacts. Then just put her on the grass and see how she reacts. And then maybe we'll try a big container and put her inside of a big container, or try giving her something where she doesn't feel as exposed but still touching the ground, and see what triggers her and what doesn't. I think that'll be really interesting. But back to this girl, I love how intently she's watching right now. But this is really short tails. When they're comfortable, they'll typically sit still, and sometimes when they're nervous, they'll sit still. And you'll see the tongue flicks change and things go on as I move or she picks up something. But mostly right now, she's just kind of sitting there processing everything. And when I first brought her out here, I had to make sure it was her, because I actually moved her and Morticia in the ARS where they are. And Morticia used to be down the bottom and Voodoo Queen was up top, and I switched them just because I was going through and treating that whole rack and everything. And I thought to myself as I brought him out, I'm like, I'm pretty sure I switched him. I said, I guess I'll find out as soon as I get out here, because if it was Morticia, she'd be freaked out by now. Voodoo Queen, on the other hand, will just relax out here. So this is her first time out this season. Probably her first time outside in, I don't know, probably at least about 7 months. But she's a veteran out here. She's been out here since I hatched her out in 2016. Hopefully this winter I'll have her in position and ready to go and get paired up for the first time. I am starting her on a feeding schedule to plan on breeding her this winter. Now, Incognito was not a very big female. Tux is not a particularly large male either. So she's still a little bit smaller than they were, but not by a whole lot. She looks a little on the thin side right now because when they do shed, they often also evacuate their bowels. So she's had maybe like 2 meals since her last shed. So she's not sitting on a very heavy weight right now. But if you see her again in like a month, she'll probably look a lot thicker as she gets, further along into this cycle between shedding. And that's another thing when you're putting weight on them to intend to breed. A lot of times you'll think, I've gotten there, they look perfect, everything's good, and then they'll shed and take that big dump and you go, oh man, it's not exactly where I want it. So you have to be weary of that and pay attention to those cycles when you're getting them ready to breed. And I've made that mistake before, thinking a female's primed, put her on a soft schedule, as we start breeding, and then all of a sudden she will take a 2-pound dump and you go, uh-oh, she's not the weight that I thought she was at. So definitely be careful if you're pairing your snakes up for that reason. Let me see if I can get in close without ticking her off here. Look at that, just beautiful, beautiful animal. Wonderful personality. A lot of fun. I know she doesn't look like a lot of fun right now because she's just sitting there, but I've taken her to a million shows. She does fantastic with anybody. She doesn't care who handles her. You can mishandle her a little bit and she'll just take it in stride like a lot of Sumatrans do. They don't take stuff as personal as like blood pythons will. And that's a general statement. I have blood pythons that you couldn't piss off, and I have Sumatrans that you probably could. But by and large, Sumatrans just really take everything in stride, which I really enjoy about them. And so I have some wonderful pictures of her that maybe I'll share at some point. If you go through my Instagram, I'm sure you can find her. Typically, if you see a Sumatran that looks like her outside, it's either her or her mother. I don't have very many good pictures of Morticia because she doesn't like being out here. Let's just take a different approach over here, see her from the other side. So you can see that classic spine definition of short tails, where a lot of people that keep other species would look at that snake and think, oh, sail fin or whatever they call it. In some species, that spine definition is not ideal, but these guys have a raised spine. So if they're not overweight, in most cases, you will see some kind of definition. You can look at certain points of her body, like there, you really don't see as much definition. It's a little bit more round, whereas here it's more broad. Her father had a very, very defined spine ridge, and of course I say had, he's still alive, he's just not here anymore. But he has a very defined spine ridge, whereas her mother doesn't as much. Incognito has a much, much more gentle slope. Even when she's like just laid eggs and she's at about her thinnest, she still has probably a little bit less spine definition than Voodoo Queen has here. So that can vary by animals, but by and large, short tails and even blood pythons usually at ideal weight should have some kind of spine definition. Just getting curious about what we're doing over here. Maybe she'll come over and check us out. Let me try to sit down. Here. Come on. Is that it? You're done? You did your little bit of moving for the video just to show people that you're alive? Come here. Here, I'll come closer. Come here. Come on. Come say hi to the folks on the YouTube. Say hi. No, that's it? That's all they get? What are you, like a big time superstar now? You can't be bothered by the paparazzi? Is that how it is? Just absolutely one of my favorite animals. Like I was saying before, I've taken her to a bunch of shows. She'll actually sleep on the table while, I'm either vending or helping someone vend or whatever we're doing. And she'll sit there on the table and go to sleep, and she'll stay there for 2 hours, 3 hours. People always ask if she's actually a real snake. I'm like, yeah, no, she is. And then somebody will pick her up and hold her, and she'll go back to sleep in my lap or back to sleep on the table. You can see her moving around a little bit. That's nice to see. A lot of the short tails come out here and just kind of plop down, and that's the end. But now you can see a little bit more of that spine definition there as she crawls away. She's like, what are you doing, man? And that classic black head. Just beautiful, beautiful snake. So hopefully you guys enjoy her as much as I do. I'll cut this short so it doesn't run too long. Get her inside, and we'll see you guys this weekend.